The royal bloodline ruled for thousands of years on a planet called the Motherworld, but eventually their lust for power drove them to devour everything on their world. Until the day the king and queen were assassinated, they chose to send their armies across the known space to conquer other planets to help grow their empire. After their assassination, the conquered planets wanted to use this chance to start a revolution. However, Senator Belisarius stepped up to be the new emperor. He then dispatched his most vicious soldiers to crush all rebels without showing any mercy. A tiny community of farmers on the planet Velt is going about their everyday business when all of a sudden they notice an Empire ship in the sky. Korra realizes right away what was going to happen and rushes to ring the bell in the town to alert everyone. The people were gathered by village chief Sindri to decide what to do next. A farmer named Gunnar believes they should greet the soldiers since they will purchase their grain for 3 times the going rate in the city. Korra disputes this right away, saying that the Empire merely uses force to seize everything it needs. Imperial ships arrive close to the village. Admiral Noble gives Sindri a hug and tells him that his army is starving but that they are searching for a rebel group headed by the Bloodaxe siblings. Sindri tells him, lying, that the village has barely enough to feed itself because their soil doesn't produce much. When Noble doesn't think he's telling the truth and remarks that everyone appears well-fed and in good health, Gunnar intervenes to explain. Enraged at having been duped, takes his cane and starts beating Sindri until he dies. A nearby guard kills Sindri's wife with a glowing blade when she tries to approach her husband. Noble then declares that he will return in 10 weeks to collect the entire harvest. Noble and his ship then depart, leaving a small contingent of soldiers under the command of Faunus to maintain vigilance. Private Aris turns on Jimmy, a robot that once served the king, while some soldiers kick out the villagers from the building they wish to use. It was told that all the king's fighting robots dropped their weapons and vowed not to fight after the royal family were killed. Marcus wanted to test out the rumors by firing at Jimmy, the robot, which drops to the ground and never comes up to defend itself. Faunus stops them both and sends them to work after Aris interrupts Marcus, who nearly kills him. While Jimmy is washing his face at the river, Sam approaches him. Sam makes friends with the robot and hears his story. Jimmy clarifies that Sam makes him think of the Empire princess, who was slain by the traitors along with her parents. Jimmy receives a flower crown from Sam, who tells him that the princess lives inside of him, and this sparks something inside of him. In the meantime, the villagers debate what to do in the town hall and decide that in order to keep producing food, they must put in a lot of effort to demonstrate the value of their harvest to the Empire. Korra begins packing her belongings to leave, frustrated that no one is listening to her warnings. Hagen, the man who discovered her after her ship crashed on this planet 2 years ago, has captured her in the act. Hagen believes that Korra ought to join the rebels in order to defend the village, but Korra declines. Sam is abducted in the evening by Marcus and 2 other soldiers so that the entire squad can make use of her. When Korra hears her screams, she tells herself not to interfere. Aris intervenes on Sam's behalf and succeeds in hitting a couple of the men, but there are too many of them, and they quickly overwhelm him. Korra shows up with an axe, interrupting Faunus before he can have his fun with Sam. Faunus pursues her with his men, and Korra initially puts on a front of capitulation before making a swift move to take out 2 soldiers in a matter of seconds. Korra appears to have a lot of combat experience and doesn't seem to mind facing off against a group of privates, using their own weapons against them and even flinging dirt to divert attention. Korra kills the soldiers one by one with precise shots or vicious stabbings, and Aris kills the man who was about to shoot her. Marcus then attempts to shoot her, but Korra stops him in his tracks and swoops in to take a straight shot to the head. Korra and the private can now work together to encircle Faunus, but they are powerless to stop him because he is holding Sam at gunpoint. When Jimmy arrives, Faunus gives him the order to kill the rebels. However, as Jimmy draws a gun, as he turns to face Sam, he shoots and kills Faunus instead. Jimmy then flees the scene. The villagers arrive in time to witness Korra terminate a wounded soldier. She declares that she will aid them in the battle against the Empire, but she must first recruit more warriors. Gunnar volunteered to take her to the city to meet his contact. Hagen gives Korra the unique gun he discovered on her ship before they depart. Korra and Gunnar ride all day only to stop at night to set up camp for rest. Korra takes this opportunity to tell him about her planet. Her home was attacked by the Imperial Army under the command of Belisarius when she was 9 years old, wreaking havoc and killing everyone. Despite her people's attempts to fight, Cora succeeded in stealing a gun, but Belisarius discovered her and approached her to tease her. Since Cora was too young to kill anyone, Belisarius abducted her and killed her entire family in order to raise her under his tutelage. Cora joined the imperial army and received training in their culture over the ensuing years. The commanders urged their soldiers to find love so they would have something more to fight for, but Cora lost hers during the war. Cora was devastated and battled so valiantly for retribution that, at the age of 18, she was already promoted to commander. Cora was just another brainwashed pawn all those years, demolishing thousands of towns in the name of the same people who killed her family. When Cora and Gunnar arrive in the city the following day, they are shocked to learn that Gunnar's contact has been taken by bounty hunters. Cora deduces that since Gunnar has no other means of reaching the rebels, they must first locate the fabled General Titus before searching for the rebels. The two then go into a tavern, where a repulsive alien who crosses the line into being overly nosy attempts to buy Gunnar, believing him to be Cora's slave. When the man becomes hostile and Cora tries to tell him to leave, she quickly overcomes him and throws him against a table. The enigmatic Kai looks on from the shadows as the alien takes off running. Cora abruptly states that she is searching for Titus and asks if anyone knows anything about him. Cora is told by a diminutive extraterrestrial who speaks through a human body that Titus is engaged in combat in the Colosseum on the planet Pollux. That's when the repulsive extraterrestrial reappears with 3 bodyguards, ready for a showdown. A gunfight broke out, sending patrons of the tavern fleeing for their lives as Cora trades gunfire with the bodyguards and hunts them down, one by one. Thankfully, Cora knocks the alien down before he can kill Gunnar. Gunnar tries to fight the alien, but his punches are ineffective. When the alien tries to attack her from behind as she turns to kill the final bodyguard, Kai intervenes and shoots him first. After emptying the dead men's pockets, Kai accepts the little cash they have to offer and offers to take the 2 to Pollux on his ship. They decide to make a stop at a different planet first after taking off after Kai informs them that he knows of a warrior who could be able to assist them. Noble, meanwhile, is smoking a cigarette by attaching the pipe straight to his body inside the Empire's main ship. After receiving word from a soldier that the bounty hunters have apprehended an informant, Noble gives the man the order to bring the man to him. After traveling to Noiwodi, Cora's group meets a rancher named Hickman, who owns a slave named Tarok. Tarok battled against the Empire in the past. However, he was caught and made a slave. He does not want anything more than to battle once again, yet he owes Hickman a large chunk of change. At that point, Hickman offers a bet if Tarok can tame the monster known as Benus, then he's permitted to leave. But in the event that he can't, then Cora and the folks should become his slaves as well. They acknowledge the bet and Tarok approaches the Benus, who savagely shakes its body attempting to get the chains off. Tarok bows to show he implies no hurt, and communicates in his most memorable language, telling the Benus they're similar on the grounds that the 2 of them were detracted from their homes to be placed in chains. With cordial words, he figures out how to bond with the Benus, and subsequent to sharing a delicate touch, Tarok liberates the monster from its chains to then ride it. They take off together, but as the Benus struggles to acclimate to having a rider, it nearly crashes into some rocks a few times. Tarok once tumbles off a cliff, but he gets back up fast and leaps a great distance to land back on top of the Benus. They can now fly more easily, and they soon arrive back at the ranch without any problems. After Tarok and the others are permitted to depart, a haughty Hickman attempts to mount the Benus but is thrown off by it and ultimately killed by its claws. Since Cora finds Tarok impressive, Kai offers to show her more warriors who might be able to assist her. After arriving at Dagus a short while later, they meet swordmistress Nemesis, who must first complete a personal task. She pursues Harmada, an alien creature that resembles a spider and whose offspring were murdered by the Empire. Harmada has abducted a human child who is seeking retribution. Harmada is unreceptive to Nemesis' attempts to reason with her, telling her that she too lost her children to the Empire, so she tries to strike. Nemesis uses her swords to cut one of Harmada's legs and force her to drop the child by dodging or blocking all of her legs. Harmada subdues Nemesis and stabs her in the arm as Gunnar saves the girl. But thanks to her mechanical gauntlets, Nemesis is still able to move and amputate another leg. When Harmada tries to kill Gunnar and the child after knocking her down once more, Nemesis stabs her in the back before lighting her blades on fire with her gauntlets. Nemesis slashes Harmada's spider-like body as she falls to the ground, then simultaneously stabs her humanoid torso with both swords. Nemesis then rejoins the group, and they set out once more. Cora chooses to share a little more about herself with Gunnar after they have another conversation. She had an affluent life and quickly joined the royal guard because she was adopted by Belisarius. Her responsibility was to guard the princess, who possessed the extraordinary ability to resurrect dead people. Cora still harbors remorse for failing to save her on the day of the attack. The group visits the arena at Pollux, where dozens of fighters perish every day. After arriving there at some point, they have to drag General Titus inside to take a shower because he is in such bad shape, but he cries the entire time. Formerly serving as the old king's commander, Titus went into a deep depression after his army was ambushed and all of his soldiers were slain when he attempted to surrender. He initially says he doesn't want to fight, but when Cora gives him the opportunity to exact revenge, he changes his mind. Noble, in the meantime, agrees to let the rebel contact go in exchange for information after the bounty hunters bring him to him. After explaining that King Levitica in Sharon is guarding the Bloodaxe siblings, the man is killed by Noble. Soon after Cora's group gets to Sharon, King Levitica greets them and offers to set up a meeting with the rebels. The Bloodaxe siblings soon arrive with their rebel army. Cora tells them about their fight, acknowledging that the odds are against them but also emphasizing that her people have always fed them, so the least they can do is defend them. After receiving his brother Darian's help, he goes to his army and makes a sincere plea for volunteers. Several rebels gladly consent to accompany him. When the group departs with their new allies, Kai says he wants to join them in battle because he has been so inspired by them. Cora agrees to stop one last time before heading home, but he still needs to deliver some boxes. Noble and his men find Levitica and destroy his kingdom soon after the group departs. When Levitica won't comply, Noble uses his cane to kill him. Noble then receives a message directing him to the rebel location while the army continues to demolish the area. When the group gets to Gondoval a few hours later, they assist Kai in unloading the cargo onto a bridge. As Cora observes him interacting with the locals, she feels something is off when all of a sudden, the majority of their ships are brought down by a hidden Empire spacecraft that opens fire. The team is then ambushed by a group of robots, and the majority of them are taken prisoner as Kai reveals his true plans. He has always known that Cora is a wanted former commander whose head would be highly paid, so he used her to gather a number of legendary wanted warriors who he would then turn in to the Empire for payment. As Noble and his men soon arrive, Noble then takes Cora's gun. Kai pushes Gunnar behind her and tells them he's just a farmer, so they'll let him go if he kills Cora. Pretending to shoot her, Gunnar releases her at the last second and turns to shoot Kai. As soon as possible, Cora leaps on a guard, knocks him down, and takes his gun. She then flees as Noble's men start shooting. She makes every effort to retaliate, blowing up a box to create a massive explosion that drives away all of her enemies. As Gunnar set the other fighters free, Nemesis begins slashing people with her blades. After ordering his men to gather the few ships that survived the attack, Darian pushes a soldier off the bridge. Tarka, Titus, and Gunnar are able to seize some weapons as the fight heats up and provide cover for Nemesis while she keeps stabbing her way through. Noble gives the order to launch his hidden spacecraft at that precise moment, and it starts firing on the rebel ships. In a desperate attempt to save his men, Darian climbs the bridge and beats up soldiers with a metal bar before jumping onto the enemy ship. Sadly, he is unable to stab the pilot, who sidesteps the bar and fires at Darian instead. Darian tries again, though, and this time succeeds in killing the enemy to halt the attack, though he also perishes in the attempt. The ship begins to slowly descend toward the bridge as his body falls on the controls. Enraged, Cora flees from her hiding place and charges across the bridge, firing at passing soldiers as she approaches Noble. The majority of the bridge is destroyed as the ship plummets at that precise moment, but Noble is able to escape by landing on a floating platform. Unexpectedly, Cora emerges from behind him, and Noble and Cora engage in a merciless punching duel. Noble punches Cora off the platform after they trade blows for a while, but not before she barely manages to grab onto some rope. Cora uses her hand to hold on to the rope after Noble disconnects it, and she uses it as a whip to make Noble fall before climbing back up. As the struggle goes on, Cora blocks Noble's cane with the rope. When it breaks, she uses a tiny piece to stab him in the leg. Noble tries to fight on, but he is now weak, so Cora breaks his arm, stabs him in the chest with the cane, and pushes him off the platform. Tarak then pulls the platform over to the bridge and rescues Cora using additional rope. After learning that the other members of the team have survived, They all head back to Velt to prepare to defend the farming community in the future. Jimmy stands nearby and observes them while donning an odd crown. Noble's body is recovered by the enemy forces in the meantime, but rather than tending to him, they cut him open to attach him to the Neuralink, exposing him as a cyborg. Noble's body is engulfed in water, and his thoughts materialize before Belisarius, who chastises Noble for his shortcomings as he continues to tap the ice beneath them with his cane. After breaking the ice to return Noble's consciousness to his body, Belisarius gives Noble the order to kidnap Cora alive so he can kill her. The doctors have to give him an extra strong shot to revive him, causing him to scream awake, since they are unable to detect any kind of brain activity.